Welcome to the Bible Show on evolutionpop.com. I'm your host, Jeff Hudson. This is the Bible Show where we read what the Bible actually says. Not what your pastor said, not what you've heard, not what the talking points are about Christianity, none of that. What does the Bible actually say? And we bring it to you with different topics. We do some research, basic internet research stuff anyone can find. We try to list it all in the comments section. Look through it. Today's lesson, the sun, the moon, and the stars. The sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, I was just thinking about, I don't know why this came to me. I was just thinking about just like the constellations for some reason. Something happened. What was that, work or something? I don't know. Anyway, I was like, let me think of something about that has to do with the constellations. So I thought just the sun, the moon, and the stars. So let's read about the sun, the moon, and the stars in the Bible. Like how they were created. Was there some Big Bang theory that just boom, everything came? Well, if there was some Big Bang, who knows? It was billions of years ago, right? No one can really prove it. It's just a theory. We're going to read that. But why do people name these constellations and make gods out of them, all that kind of stuff, right? So I thought it was interesting. I like astronomy, not astrology, but astronomy, the study of the stars. I like, NASA. Well, I don't know if I like NASA, but I like the fact that you can look up in space and see all that stuff. It's cool. Go someplace where it's really, really dark. Look up in the sky, you can really see all the stars. It's cool. Cool. You ever used to go to the planetarium? Remember you were a kid, you went to the planetarium? I thought it was cool. Maybe that's just me. I watch all that stuff, Star Trek, Star Wars, Star whatever, Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, so anyway, the sun, the moon, and the stars. We're going to start this lesson in Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, we're going to read 1 through 5. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. Let's see where these stars, moon, and sun came from. Genesis chapter 1 and 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. Now wait, God said, let there be light, and there was light. Did he say, let there be a sun to shine light? Nope, not yet. So what is this light? Nobody knows. The light that we know about on earth, we can say it comes from the sun, right? That's what shines on the earth that gives the earth light. So what is this light? Verse 4. And God saw the light, and it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. So there's darkness too. So when the sun goes down, what is that darkness? Is it the same darkness? Now these are two different darknesses. And we'll keep going. Maybe you'll catch it. Verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So there was an evening and a morning before there was a sun. So how is a day at 12 o'clock midnight when it's dark outside and there's no change or nothing? We're going by what the sun is like, right? Well, there was no sun at this time. Let's skip down to verse 6. Well, let's keep going. We're going to read 6 through 8 now. Verse 6 through 8. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the water. All right, so you got this water, right? It's a ball of water, right? All water. God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of it. So some of the water is going to go up, and there's going to be like a firmament that divides it. So you got water up here, a firmament, and then water down here. So you got two bodies of water with a big space of firmament that divides them, right? Let's read that again. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So water on top, water on the bottom, firmament in the middle. Verse 7. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which are above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. Now, is this the heaven where he's sitting? Is this the heaven where God's throne is? No, it is not. This is the heaven where the sun and the moon and the stars are, and there's clouds. And as a matter of fact, when you take an airplane ride, you're in heaven. When you see a bird flying across the sky, that bird is flying in heaven. You jump up off the ground, you're up in heaven for a minute. You come right back down, but that's heaven. Anything from the ground, they do anything not on the ground up until you get to that water that's above the firmament. That's what it said, right? Above the firmament. All that is heaven. Actually, that's the second heaven. There's 3 heavens, by the way. There's no 7 heaven. You can't find 7 heaven in the Bible, but you can find 3rd heaven. And the 3rd heaven is where God's throne is. The 2nd heaven is that firmament that we're just talking about. The 1st heaven is actually the earth. The name for this earth is actually heaven, and it's also hell. This is hell on earth, right? It's heaven on earth. Hell is like a state of condition. This coronavirus has got everybody in hell, right? And there's scripture in the Bible that says that God's going to gather his elect from one end of heaven to the other. Well, nobody's in heaven right now. No man is in heaven. So what's he going to gather his elect? If they're in heaven, by the way, what's he got to gather them for? They're already there. Now it's talking about the earth. Anyway, let's keep going. Verse 8. Read verse 8 again. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the 2nd day. Now let's skip down to, we're going to skip the 3rd day. Let's go right to the 4th day. Let's go to Genesis, skip down to verse 14. Let's skip down to verse 14. We're going to read 14 through 19. Okay. 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven. Now this is where he's going to put the moon and the sun and the stars in that firmament that's dividing the waters and the waters. So you got light that's above the waters that we can't see. Then you got water. Then you got the firmament where the sun and the moon and the stars are. Then you got the earth where some more waters and seas are. Let's read that again. Verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. So instead of the light and darkness that he originally made to divide the day and the night, he's going to now let this light in the firmament do it. And this is where it comes up. And this is the 4th day. The 4th day. See, the sun and the moon weren't even created till the 4th day. Is that something? Did anybody even think about that? No, I never think about it. Verse 14, and God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Now the sun rises in the sky and it gives light upon the earth, does it not? So this Bible's kind of tight, man. Everything that is said here is actually what's happening. There is like that. They found NASA found water in space. A body of water that's larger than all the oceans of the earth put together. Something to think about. Let's keep going. Verse 16. And God made 2 great lights. The greater light to rule the day, sun. The lesser light to rule the night, the moon. He made the stars also. So there's our sun, our moon, and our stars. According to the Bible, God made them. Did he use some Big Bang theory to make it? I don't know. Maybe. But the Big Bang theory is just a theory. And there's other theories. They can't really prove it. That's why it's a theory. When you think about the word theory, it's something that is not really 100% proven to be factually true. It's just the thought people believe. So if you believe that everything was created by this Big Bang theory, I believe what the Bible says. So whose theory is right? I bet your mine is closer than yours. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Let's go to space.com. Well, I looked up the Big Bang theory. That's why I'm talking about it. I went to space.com and I looked up the Big Bang theory. Big Bang theory. So let's read it. And it says, the Big Bang theory is the leading explanation about how the universe began. It's the leading explanation about how the universe began. At its simplest, it says the universe as we know it started with a small singularity, then inflated over the next 13.8 billion years to the cosmos that we know today. So a little small atom, boom, now we got space. All the space up in the sky that you can't even see as far as it goes. Continuing. Because current instruments don't allow astronomers to peer back at the universe's birth, so they can't even see back to when the universe actually began. So this is a theory. This is what they think happened. Much of what we understand about the Big Bang Theory comes from mathematical formulas and models. You see, people are doing math equations and formulas and putting models together, and that's how they came up with this Big Bang Theory. This seems to be correct, but can they actually truly prove that? They're not. It's a theory. Continuing on. Because current instruments don't allow astronomers to peer back at the universe's birth, much of what we understand about the Big Bang Theory comes from mathematical formulas and models. Astronomers can, however, see the echo of the expansion through a phenomenon known as the cosmic microwave background. And I think they had like a picture in here where they showed like this microwave picture of the universe still expanding. That's what they're saying. This is still growing. Continuing on. While the majority of the astronomical community accepts the theory, there are some theorists who have alternative explanations besides the Big Bang, such as eternal inflation or an oscillating universe. Now, I didn't look those up, and you can look it up if you want to. Look up eternal inflation, which I'm not just looking at this. I'm thinking it's about the world, the space continue to expand, and an oscillating universe. It's on space.com. Look it up, man, if you want to, or woman. Let's go to. I stayed in space.com. And what else did I look up here? Well, I put like the if you go to the comment section, I put the Big Bang Theory alternative infographic. There's a link there you can click on, and it should take you to these other alternative theories about the formation of the universe. Now, let's continue on. Merriam-Webster dictionary. I went to look up what is a theory. What is a theory? My trusty dusty Merriam-Webster dictionary, and here's the definition of a theory. Theory: a plausible or scientifically acceptable general principle or body of principles offered to explain phenomena. A belief, policy, or procedure proposed or followed as the basis of action. An ideal or hypothetical set of facts, principles, or circumstances, often used in the phrase "in theory." So when people say, "Well, in theory, it should work," that doesn't mean they don't know if it's going to work or not. In theory, it should do this. In theory, it should work. But they don't really know. It's a theory. It might work, but it's not 100% factual. It's a theory. It's people's ideas. Don't get me wrong. The theories you got to start with something. You got to, and find some explanation. Theory. Everyone's got theories about stuff. That's fine. My point is, the theory about the creation of the world is kind of a big deal. To not, well, God is a big deal too, right? So which one are you going to believe? Okay, I'm going to continue on. Continuing on with the definition of theory. A hypothesis assumed for the sake of argument or investigation. So, okay, let's suppose this happened, right? An unproved assumption. That's a theory, an unproved assumption. Conjecture. A body of theorems presenting a concise, systematic view of a subject. The general or abstract principles of a body of fact, a science or an art. Abstract thought, speculation. Talk about the bankers and their speculation. And we had a crash in 2008 because of the banker speculation. Continuing on, the analysis of a set of facts in their relation to one another. So that's what a theory is. It's not 100% the truth. It's what people's ideas are. And they do mathematical equations and put models together to see if it actually is the case. The models work some of the time, sometimes they fail. It's a theory, not necessarily true. Let's get back to the Bible. The sun, the moon, and the stars. Let's go to Jeremiah. I'm going to read one verse. Jeremiah 31. And we're going to read one verse, verse 35. Now we read earlier in Genesis that the sun and the moon and stars was set up there to bring light upon the earth, right? Jeremiah 31, verse 35. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinance of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. Now Jeremiah said it again. The sun and the moon and the stars were given by the Lord to put light upon the earth. Instead of the light that he originally created that's above the firmament now, you can't even see that light anymore because you got the third heaven where he is, a body of water, the firmament, which is the space all the way down to the atmosphere of the earth to the ground. Isn't that what we read in Genesis? Isn't that what Jeremiah is talking about here about these lights in the firmament? Go back and read it again if you want to. Let's keep going. Deuteronomy chapter 17. Deuteronomy 17. And let's pick it up at verse 2. Deuteronomy 17, verse 2. We're going to read 2 through 5. Now, because one thing about the sun and the moon and the stars, people started worshiping them. People still do worship them. People worship the sun. They think that they're practicing Christianity when they're actually doing sun worship. When you go and celebrate Christmas, what is Christmas? That's not the birth of Christ. You can't find the birth of Christ on December 25th in the Bible. It's not in there. So where did it come from? What happened was they took this day, December 25th, that was already being used in pagan ritual that was celebrating the winter solstice, the winter Saturnalia. So it was a pagan thing going on already. The early Christians or the Catholics, the Roman Catholic Church, took that day, slapped Jesus' name on it, called it Christmas, and now everyone celebrates it every December 25th, saying it's Christ's birthday. And it is not. That is a fable. The sun and the moon and the stars, we're at Deuteronomy 17. We're going to read 2 through 5. Now, I was saying earlier, I was just saying, the sun, these moons, these stars, people are actually worshiping them. Some know they're worshiping them, some don't. Like I was explaining before, Christmas, winter solstice, sun worship. Moon. You know, the Muslim religion has a big crescent moon and a star. Moon worship.
Do they really, or is it just them on the?
You know, you can look up.
That's what I want to know.
Is it?
Right, is it just them?
Is that not
compare as opposed to the Muslims in the Middle East?
I think they still have the star and the moon. Yeah. There's a matter of fact, I think I'm trying to think of the country. I think Pakistan's flag is a crescent moon and stars. Is it Pakistan? I gotta look it up. But there's some country whose flag is the star and the moon, like that. Something to research. But I heard a brother that was doing a lesson the other day that made me think about that. It's like the Allah as the moon god. Allah as the moon god. And he did some research on it. But but people do worship the moon. People worship the stars. And we're going to read a little bit about that too. People worshiping these stars. Like if you pay attention to your zodiac, that's star worship. That's worshiping the host of heaven. That's what God calls it.
Horoscope. HORORSCOPE.
Yeah, I didn't really want to get into like the horoscope or zodiac stuff, but I just wanted to make it known to you that people do worship this stuff. Into the Bible that they were doing this stuff, they're sacrificing people to it, all kinds of stuff. But let's go to Deuteronomy 17. And picking up at verse 2, Deuteronomy 17, we're going to read 2 through 5. And here's what God says. If there be found among you within any of thy gates which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, in transgressing his covenant, and have gone and served other gods, and worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the host of heaven, there's your stars, which I have not commanded. Now, the covenant that he's talking about is the Ten Commandments that he gave me and all the statutes and laws that he's talking about. First commandment, I'm the only God you're supposed to worship, have no other God before me. So having these other gods goes right against that first commandment. Verse 4, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and beheld it be true, and the thing certain that such abomination is wrought in Israel, then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing. It's a wicked thing to worship the sun, the moon, and the stars, unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shalt stone them with stones till they die. Now that's how God feels about it. So everyone that's celebrating Christmas, that's doing the sun worship, that's how God feels about it.
That doesn't have anything to do with like studying the
No, astronomy?
studying the stars and the sun.
No. No, that's just getting knowledge about your cosmos, about the space. That's fine. But worshiping it is something else.
Yeah.
Like
to determine your life in
right.
the future. I got it.
Right. Making it a deity. You know, bowing down to it. Creating some custom to serve it. Because you can't like Brother Elijah always says, how are you gonna worship the sun? You can't bring coffee to it, right? You can't go up to the sun, here you go, coffee, here you go, son, I'm giving you some coffee. No. So you got some kind of ritual or tradition or custom that's done to serve this fake God. That's how you worship it.
Yesterday I was looking up some stuff about my blood type, right? So, it's like so much about my blood type. And then I'm was led to this page, to this page, to this page. And then I came across this one page with this lady. So her headline is like talking about my blood type. But then when I open her up and she starts to get ready to start listening, she's talking about cosmos and the stars. I'm like, whoa.
So the cosmos are going to determine your blood type and it's going to determine your fate.
She wasn't even talking about it. It's like she used the headline, but then she started talking about because she's into astrology. So it's a draw-in.
Oh, psych.
Yeah, it's a draw-in. And I was like, nah, I can't get this. Okay.
Speaking of astronomy, I went to the site astronomy.com because I was trying to look up like the constellations. So I went to astronomy. I'm sorry, it's go-astronomy.com. Go-astronomy.com. And I looked up constellations, and what I found was the 88 constellations of the night sky. So there are 88 constellations currently. I don't know if there's more, but there seemed to be a common theme of like the astronomy people have selected 88 that they put in these constellations. A total of 88. Now there might be more. Before what I found, there's currently 88 constellations. I'm sure there's more because there's billions of stars and galaxies, right? Yeah. So anyway, Ramon, do you want to read? Yeah. We're down at number 9 there, a constellation.
Okay. The 88 constellations of the night sky. A constellation is a grouping of stars that represents one of the 88 divisions of the celestial sphere as defined by the International Astronomical. The Sun, Moon, and Stars. .text union. Many constellations are derived from old traditional asterisms, which are star patterns within a constellation. Mm-hmm. For an example, the Big Dipper is an asterism inside of the Ursa Major constellation.
Anybody heard of the constellation Ursa Major? No. I've heard of Ursa Major before. I don't know if it's from a movie or what. Ursa Major. I think there's Ursa Minor too.
Seasons listed are for mid-northern latitudes. For southern latitudes, flip the season listed.
So if you're in the northern hemisphere, you got one season based on the latitude. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you got to flip it. So if it's winter in the north, it's summer in the south, and vice versa.
For example, if a constellation is listed as best viewed in the summer, in the southern hemisphere, the constellation would be best viewed in the winter and would be upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Circumpolar constellations are visible year-round in their hemisphere. Constellations shown bolded are the zodiac constellations.
Okay, so I put they had a list of all the constellations there.
Like Andromeda.
Yeah, I printed some of them out. I didn't do all 88, but I just wanted to get some that you might be familiar with.
Cephas' daughter, which you'll see in the fall. Aquarius.
I've heard of Aquarius, right?
The water bearer. Aries, the ram.
So what I'm getting at is these constellations are named after, not all of them, but the zodiac signs are constellations in the sky. They don't determine your fate, and they're not to be worshipped. If you're born at a certain time of year, that does not mean that you're born under a certain sign of stars in the sky. That's what's going to determine your fate. And that's going to determine your fate.
You're born under a certain month.
God created the sun and the moon and the stars to do what? Shine light upon the earth. Is that what they do?
For the night sky and for the daytime.
And is that what they do? Do they determine your fate? No, they do not. They have nothing to do with your fate. You have something to do with your fate. And God controls it too. So there you go. Just wanted to clear that up. Don't fall for that. Let's keep going. Let's go to Job. The book of Job.
And it's amazing that it's people in their 40s are still going and doing this. Because I just had a young lady last month. We were talking, a relative, and we were talking, and she was like, "Oh, what sign are you?" I don't get into that. I really don't get into that. You want to know what month I was born? Fine, but I don't get into that. I mean, Come on now. I can understand when we are pre-teens. So you're talking about like 10, 11, 12. But when you in your 40s.
And you still doing that?
That's great. Stop it. Stop it already.
Job chapter 9, the book of Job chapter 9. And we're going to pick it up at verse 2. I'm going to read 2 through 10. Job 9 verse 2. I know it is so of a truth, but how should man be just with God? If he will contend with him, he cannot answer him 1 of 1,000. Now you can't answer God 1 of 1,000. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who hath hardened himself against him and hath prospered? Who's hardened himself against the Lord and hath prospered? Verse 5. Which removeth the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger, which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble. Verse 7. Which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not. And you can go back and read in the book of Joshua where God allowed Joshua to stop the sun and the moon in the sky, and it stopped so they could finish killing everybody. Go back and read in the book of Joshua. All about warring and the misdeeds of the Israelites. But anyway, verse 7, which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, and stilleth up the stars. Who commandeth the sun, and it riseth not? The Lord. And he stilleth up the stars. Who does it? The Lord. Verse 8. Which alone spreadeth out the heavens. Who spreadeth out the heavens? The Lord alone spreads out the heavens. So if there's some expansion that's still going on, who's doing it?
The Lord.
And treadeth upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades. Now what are Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades? Did we just read those in our... Did we read those in our list of constellations? Which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. Now, I just wanted to read that because we're talking about the sun and the moon and the stars. Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades. Pleiades. We can keep going. We can forget that. We can hear this right here. Let's go back to space.com. We went back to space.com and I looked up Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades. So we're at number 11. Yeah.
Arcturus is a red giant star in the northern hemisphere of Earth's sky and the brightest star in the constellation Bootes.
Constellation Bootes. Is it Bootes or Boots? Bootes.
The herdsman. Arcturus is also among the brightest stars that can be seen from Earth. Astronomers say Arcturus will end up as a white dwarf at the end of its life. The light of Arcturus is so bright that the star was used to help open the Chicago World's Fair in 1933.
The stars and the moon and the sun were set in the sky to bring light upon the earth. Orion constellation. Facts about the hunter. Orion is the hunter. That's what they call him, the hunter. While the Orion constellation is named after the hunter in the Greek mythology, it is anything but stealthy. Orion, which is located on the celestial equator, is one of the most prominent and recognizable constellations in the sky and can be seen throughout the world. There are several versions of the myth of Orion. You've seen like there's a bunch of stuff named Orion, right? Orion's belt. Well, it's like you think about movies and stuff. I think in Men in Black, I think there was something about Orion's belt in there. But anyway, there are several versions of the myth of Orion, but one of the more common iterations is that Orion proclaimed himself to be the greatest hunter in the world. Now, how can Orion claim himself to be the greatest hunter? It's just a constellation of stars in the sky. When you look at the stars in the sky, they're like you draw a line to attach stars to each other. You can draw a line anywhere to make something up. You don't have to. Who made it look like some Orion? It doesn't even look like that to me. You can take some dots, put some lines together on them, and call it Jeff. All right, I'm cracking myself up. Anyway, you get what I'm saying? It's just a constellation of stars in the sky. But this constellation is going to say, I'm the greatest hunter in the world, right?
So, didn't all these constellations and stuff come from Egypt? Did all this stuff come from Egypt?
I don't know if it all came from Egypt. It's a lot of Greek mythology.
Greek mythology.
And there's Roman mythology. The Romans took a lot of Greek stuff. Mm-hmm. They probably took some stuff from Egypt too.
Yeah.
It's like all these different nations and countries got their own.
Orion is mentioned in the Bible, though. I saw that in the Orion belt.
No, I just read it. It's in Job.
Oh, okay. I missed that. But then I thought, what did the Lord have to say about Orion?
Which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. Now, this is in the book of Job. They're talking about Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades. And we still talk about those constellations today. How far back was Job? How long ago was that? So how long has these stars been around? How long has man been talking about these and naming them these things? Back when Job was around, they was naming them.
So it was already named that back in
Job's days, right?
Wow. So a lot of men had been really, somebody been reading the Bible to keep the name going to today.
Now, my point is that people have been worshiping these moons and suns and stars forever.
Well, I don't think Job was.
No.
What's the significance of Job mentioning Orion?
He was talking about the greatness of God and how God made Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades. Like man named these constellations what they are, but God put the hosts of heaven in the sky.
He made them. What were they?
They're just constellations in the sky. That's all. They're just stars and the host of heaven. He's basically saying God made the host of heaven. And man took a group of them and called, we'll call this Arcturus, we'll call this Orion, we'll call this Pleiades. But no, God made all the hosts of heaven. Yeah. And what's their job? To shine light upon the earth. And what do? They shine a light upon the earth. Look outside right now. Forget about your street lights. If it's the daytime, you got the sun shining light upon the earth, right? If it's the nighttime, the moon's out there. Well, it might be, but the stars are.
Street lights.
Oh, your street lights.
There are several versions of the myth of Orion, but one of the more common iterations is that Orion proclaimed himself to be the greatest hunter in the world, much to the dismay of Hera, the wife of Zeus.
Now, who's Hera?
The wife of Zeus.
And who's Zeus?
He's a god.
More Greek mythology stuff.
Yeah, it's Greek mythology. What god was he? God of
Thunder?
war
No,
or thunder?
I don't know.
Either war or thunder.
We did a lesson like this some time ago. I don't remember.
I know. She had a scorpion kill him, and Zeus put Orion into the sky as consolation. In another version, Orion is blinded for raping Merope, a granddaughter of the god Dionysus. He has to travel east to seek the sun's rays to recover his sight. How do people know this stuff?
They just make this stuff up.
Well, there are little G gods, though.
Yeah, that's man. Yeah, I know. There's little G gods, fake gods. Yeah, you're right.
Because there was a war in heaven.
Those were the demons that got cast out.
Right. Little G gods.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. The little G gods. Anybody that's not the big G gods, which is the Father and the Son, are little G gods.
Where did these stories come from? I mean, like, really, where did they come from?
You know, I think a lot of this stuff, this is just my opinion, I think a lot of this stuff are like just people make up stories. Look at all the stories that are written today. How much TV do we got? People's imagination is make stuff up to tell a good story, which is fine. Just fine. But when you start making stuff a deity and worshiping and calling it a god and all that stuff, I mean, for real, nah, you've gone too far. Take a step back.
While the name Orion is steeped in Greek mythology, many cultures have been influenced by the story of this constellation. Orion has also associated with an Egyptian pharaoh of the 5th dynasty named Unas.
Okay, you did say did it come from Egypt? Okay.
Yeah. In Hungary, Orion is known as magic archer.
The magic archer?
Yeah, or Ijaz. Or Scyther, should I say, a Kazas.
What?
Kazas.
Okay, Kazas. K-A-S-Z-A-S.
Scandinavians refer to Orion's belt as Frigg's distaff.
Frigg's distaff. Frigg, F-R-I-G-G ''S distaff.
And in space.com.
More space.com. I think this one's Pleiades, right?
Yeah, Pleiades. The Seven Sisters star cluster.
The Seven Sisters.
Star cluster. The Pleiades are a group of more than 800 stars located about 410 light years from Earth in the constellation Taurus.
Taurus. The Taurus sound familiar to anybody? Ford Taurus. Does Ford still make Taurus?
Most sky watchers are, and Taurus is an emblem of the bull.
Zodiac stuff.
Yeah, okay. Most sky watchers are familiar with the assembly, which looks something like a smaller, hazier version of the Big Dipper in the night sky. Also known as the Seven Sisters in Messier 45, the object derives its English name from Greek legend. The Pleiades are the 7 daughters of the Titan god Atlas and the ocean nymph Cleon. During an ancient war, Atlas rebelled against Zeus, the king of the gods, who sentenced his foe to forever hold up the heavens on his shoulders. The sisters were so sad that Zeus allowed them a place in the sky in order to be close to their father.
The Seven Sisters, Pleiades. Here are the Pleiades too. Let's get back to the Bible. Now, what's going to happen to the sun and the moon and the stars?
It's gonna fall.
Let's read about that. You got a few more scriptures to go. That'll be it. Let's go to Joel, Joel, the book of Joel. We're going to go to Joel chapter 2. Joel chapter 2. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. We're going to read 1 and 2. And then we're going to skip down to verse 10. Joel chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. Verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. The day of the Lord cometh is close to getting here. Verse 2. Is it going to be a good, bright, glorious day? No. Verse 2. A day of darkness and of gloominess. Nobody ever says that when they talk about the Lord coming, do they? They say, well, when the Lord gets here, it's going to be glorious. No.
It's going to be a sight to see.
A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong there have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. He's talking about a huge army right there. But let's get down to verse 10. We're talking about the sun, the moon, and the stars. Verse 10. The earth shall quake before them, before his army. The heavens shall tremble. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark. That's going to happen. What's going to happen to the sun and the moon? They will be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. So what's going to happen to the sun and the moon and stars? They're going to go away. Yeah. Verse 11. And the Lord shall.
That sound like. Sorry, that sound like in the plagues when it was dark. There's no light.
The plagues.
The 10 plagues in Exodus.
Oh, I mean, when it was like total darkness.
Yeah.
For 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds.
Yeah, like. No sun, no moon, no stars, no just complete pitch blackness.
Pitch darkness.
You ever see that movie Pitch Black?
Yeah, that was
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, I saw that.
That was pretty good.
That was good.
Verse 11. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For he is strong and executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. What's it going to be? Very terrible. What do they tell you? What your pastor say? Oh, it's going to be glorious when the Lord get here. He going to take us all off.
Okay, nah. He's coming back like a lion. Nah. Like a lamb this time.
For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? Nobody. Let's go to Revelation chapter 6. The book of Revelation chapter 6. What's going on with these sun, moon, and stars? What's their eventual end here? Revelation 6 and verse 1. We're going to skip around. Verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb, who's the Lamb?
Jesus.
Jesus is the Lamb. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, come and see. Let's get down to verse 12 and come and see. Verse 12. And I beheld when he opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. What happens to the sun? Black as sackcloth of hair. And the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. All the stars just fell
to earth. So that's if the stars are falling, and they're falling, of course, towards earth. That's going to be like
meteorites in there.
Meteorites, yeah.
Asteroids in there.
Yeah, that's going to be like a meteorite shower, comet showers. It sure is.
Verse 14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. So all you look up in the sky, you see all this stuff. Clouds, sun, moon, stars, right? Parts together like a scroll and it's gone. Ain't that tripped out? Pastor ever read that to you? And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their place. Let's get down to verse 17.
Earthquakes.
Yeah, that's another scripture that says the earthquakes are so mighty that all the islands were.
Well, because when the earthquake happened, the plates, tectonic plates, they move. So yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, things are.
That's how the mountains are created, by the way.
They come up out of the ocean too. They rise up out of the ocean, and so I can see the mountains going to be moved because the earthquakes, the tectonic plates, they sit like this, and they move, they shift.
Yeah.
Very true.
Verse 17. For the great day of his wrath is come. Whose wrath?
Jesus,
Yeah.
wow.
And who shall be able to stand? The same people that were able to abide. Nobody. Isaiah chapter 34. The book of Isaiah chapter 34. Reading about these sun, moon, and stars. What's their end? Isaiah 34, we're going to read 1 through 4. Verse 1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Come here, come near, ye nations, all the nations, and hearken, ye people, all the people. Let the earth hear, let the whole earth hear, and all that is therein. Let the world and all things that come forth in it. So we talk. Isaiah here is talking to everybody on this whole planet Earth and the entire world. Verse 2. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Now, have they been utterly destroyed yet? No, but God said it, and it's going to happen. Verse 3. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses. That don't sound good. And the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Another melting of the mountain thing. Verse 4. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. There it is again. And all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. There it is again. So what's going to happen to the sky that we know of? These heavens that we
open up,
that we see up there at night, rolled together as a scroll. Would that be tripped out if you like saw something just go across the sky? That'd freak me out, man.
Well, you know how you hear the airplanes, when they come like through the clouds or something. It's like a roaring sound almost. It's so weird.
Yeah, I wonder what it's going to sound
like. It's like the airplane is like probably way back there, but the noise is way up here. And
speed of sound.
Yeah, but it's so weird. You know, it's like they're coming through the atmosphere or something. That's what it sounds like to me. So I can imagine when Jesus come back, what the noise is going to sound like, because he's definitely coming through the sky. And
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be some thundering and lightning. It's going to be trippy, scary.
Last verse, Revelation. Let's put a good note to it at the end. Revelation chapter 21. This is good news for some.
All of it is good news.
I want to be in that. I want to be hidden in the wilderness doing this.
I mean, it's good news for us to hear what's going to happen when he's coming. Then it's best to have knowledge than not to have knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I say it's good news. Yeah, it's good news. I need to know what's coming in front of us.
Yeah, well, that's good news, but it don't sound like it's anything good is going to happen.
No.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, Revelation 21. This is going to be last. 21, we're going to read 1 and 2 and skip around. Verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. No more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem. Now there's some good news. Coming down from God out of heaven. So you're not going to heaven. God's going to bring New Jerusalem from heaven to the earth.
It's coming down.
Prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
And we say the New Jerusalem, so we know where it's going to be at.
Yeah, New Jerusalem in Jerusalem. Not that old Jerusalem that it is right now. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. Now there's this other church out here that's saying they're the wife, but no, they're not the wife, they're the whore. Verse 10, it's another lesson. That great whore. Verse 10, and he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain. There's your trance, there's your vision right there, John.
Right.
And showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God.
And that was an angel that was, when he said he's talking about an angel.
verse 11. Having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Skip all the way down to verse 23. Verse 23. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon,
Beautiful.
to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. So go ahead and enjoy your astronomy. Enjoy your astronomy out there. It's cool to look at. You see comets zipping by. You got to go someplace where it's like got a nice dark sky where you can see all the stars. It's cool to look at. Don't get me wrong. Just don't start worshiping the stuff and thinking that these signs in heaven are meaning a lot of stuff. No, pay attention to what the Bible says. It'll tell you what the signs in heaven mean. It'll tell you what's going to happen. It tells you what the future's going to be. It tells you what's going to happen and what stuff's going to look like. And when you see the Pope go sit in Jerusalem, that's the beginning of the tribulation. Run, flee to Mount Sinai to the wilderness for 3.5 years and wait till it's over. And God's going to purge out the wicked from the wilderness. And those that make the first resurrection, boom, you get pulled in the
angel going to be in the wilderness? Angels?
In the wilderness?
Yeah.
Well, we got to.
That's a different.
I got to go back and read all that lesson. Got to go back and read that. I'm not sure if angels are going to be there, but
they are, because we're not supposed to be messing up when we get there. Once you, this is what I thought I read, that once you mess up, that's the place like.
That's Jesus' 1,000-year millennium.
No, I read too that the angels supposed to be in the wilderness. Anybody mess up, right there, you're gonna be taken out by an angel. I gotta go back and read that.
Well, it says Jesus is gonna purge out the rebels. It says Jesus will purge out the rebels.
I gotta go back and read that. There's more to the wilderness than all of us just making up. Because you can't get in the wilderness as our place of safety, and then you still want to sin.
And then be rebelling.
No.
All right. Well, that's the lesson, the sun, the moon, and the stars. I hope it was edifying. Hope it was enlightening. Hope we learned something. I know this wasn't all that deep of a lesson, but I wanted to try to be on some kind of a light note. Whether it was kind of deep because we know some information about the return of Jesus Christ. Don't think it's going to be some happy, glorious thing. No, Jesus is going to come and kill everybody.
Actually, at the beginning it's not, but at the end it is.
At the end.
Yeah, when he's done with, getting all the...
Oh, when he's done killing everybody?
Right. Then it's going to be a beautiful, glorious...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we got the 1,000 years of millennium.
Stop right there.
Well, then we got the 1,000 years of millennium. Then on the 8th day...
There's work to be done when he comes back.
Yeah. Jesus is going to be on this...
cleanup. There's a cleanup.
Jesus is going to be on the earth for 1,000 years. And the devil's going to be locked away. So everyone's going to learn about the Lord.
Yeah.
And then when New Jerusalem comes down, that's when the Father comes.
The Holy of Holies.
So that's the lesson. I hope it was edifying once again. Be safe out there. There is something out there. I don't know if this coronavirus is getting everybody.
I say it's our air being, our atmosphere is infected.
Atmosphere infected with...
Due to the meteor showers and all of that. To me, that's how I feel.
5G radiation out there.
Yeah, everything. So so the atmosphere is totally infected. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if wearing a mask helps. Maybe it does. But so do what you got to do. And take care of yourself and watch out and read your Bible.
Practice social distancing.
Go to the house of Jacob. Go to the Israel of God. Go to the Israel Church of Jesus.
We're all on Facebook.
Israel Church of the Living God. Go to the Church of Israel. Get to a Sabbath day church. Learn what the Bible actually says, not what someone just making up. Tell me, read it to you.
Yeah, you want to hear the true word of God.
Right. All right. That's it. We out. Peace.
Pay attention to your surroundings, and most of all, please be safe.